Hello, it is Linda Benn. I'm a transformational catalyst, and today I have the honor of Shauna Cuch, who is going to share her wisdom about releasing and clearing our shadow side. Though, let me just share some information about Shauna before we start. So Shauna is the founder of Journey into the Heart. She is the author of the #1 international best-selling book called Big Souls Make Big Promises. And Shauna has a phenomenally successful course called Relationship Alchemy, where she helps you find peace of mind amidst amidst the chaos and sovereignty to the soul in any given situation. She is also known to assist in uncoupling relationships that are toxic to relieve the pain without unnecessary drama and expense. She's trained and certified in systemic healing and family constellations, a method widely used in a multitude of countries that value the work. Her background gives her the use of a wide variety of specific and dynamic modalities that raise the vibration, frequency, and consciousness with her wisdom in the circle. Her approach is unique, individual, and draws on her years of experience, not only in constellations, but shadow clearing, transmuting darkness to light within our soul energy fields. I love that. Thank you so much, Shauna. So, and her website is Journey into the Heart. So, welcome, Shauna. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm so excited. It's my pleasure.
Fantastic. So, what we're going to be talking about today is the more of the shadow work, because a lot of people don't understand what is that. You know, they're not looking at all those parts of themselves. So can you explain what is a shadow?
Sure. So nobody goes around talking about their shadow all the time. The science of it is we only know 5% of who we are, and the rest is unconscious emotions and things in our energy field that are communicating, because we only communicate 10% of our communication is verbal. The rest is what we're communicating unconsciously. We're also creating from that unconsciously. So we have no idea what we're creating. So I call it the shadows driving our bus, until we can flip the switch and bring it from the unconscious to the conscious. So shadow is the biggest part of our shadow. The most powerful is the ancestral baggage, because according to science, when your ancestors pass on, they don't take their negative energy with them. It stays. And so even their wisdom and knowledge stays there, but also all the things that are unresolved, and they continue to get passed on from generation to generation. So we have a lot of things in our field that we have no idea are there. And then we also have parental imprints. So from the time we're in the womb, from the time we're conceived, we're taking on the imprints of our parents. We get raised and watch them as we grow, and we inherit so much of their behaviors, and we take them into our relationships. So this is a real amazing clearing for relationships by just doing your parental imprints. Then we also have childhood trauma, limiting beliefs that we pick up throughout our lives. So there's all kinds of things that we are completely unaware of, and that's where we're creating from.
Interesting. So, and this is why it's so important for people to be aware and conscious of their shadow side and why they do what they do. So do you want to dig a little bit deeper into why someone why it's so important for someone to actually look at their shadow side in order to be more conscious or to raise their energy vibration.
Yes, it's all of those. For one thing, we feel like we're a victim with life coming at us and we're powerless to do anything about it. But once you find out that this is actually patterns that within your energy field that you're creating, it is very empowering because you realize you're an amazing creator. You're just creating what you don't want. And so they say, if until you know who you're not from your shadow, then you will not be able to discover who you are, because our shadow is where our truth lies, underneath shadow. And what's amazing is you cannot love unconditionally when you have all these things, these stories and these traumas in your field within yourself. It's hard to love yourself because you're hearing all these voices and this negative self-talk when it isn't really you and it's running your life. And so by opening your awareness to the energy field and what's going on there is very empowering. And that is the rather than always seeking the light and pushing away the dark, then actually facing into our shadow is what I call the pathway to our divine love.
Beautiful, beautiful. So why are a lot of people afraid of their shadow? You know, they might go, oh no, that sounds creepy, like I don't want to go there.
Yeah, well, we are raised that way, especially in religious dogma and things where we're taught that we need to be worthy. And so we're always pushing away our bad side or pushing away things that we think we've got judgment on. And actually, by being able to go right into the fears or the shame or all the things that are in our field, is by pushing them away, we give the shadow power. But by really embracing it and seeing what's there and doing it with love, according to the science, I had a neuroscientist study my 10-day events. He did the before and after, and he did the brain mappings and the energy readings. And according to the science, when you are an observer, if you set an intention and you observe energy with love, then you actually transmute the energy. So it's actually, this is science, it's not woo-woo stuff. And so I do that in the constellations. You sit there in the seeker chair and you're observing your energy field, whatever we put your energy field in the circle. We put representatives to channel and act out what's going on. And you're observing it. And I always make sure there's a very strong intention and they're in a space of love. And with my intention and their intention, then we're actually transmuting that. And it's so amazing to see the transformation in people when they're actually embracing their shadow.
Wonderful. So how can we embrace a shadow rather than resist it?
Well, there are four things we get to remember. And I talk about these things in my shadow class in detail, but I'll cover them quickly. Mm-hmm. The third dimension energy of shame, blame, and guilt. We easily access shame, blame, and guilt, and we're always trying to be in the light and be righteous and right. And that's what I was doing anyway. And by doing that, the more you resist, the more it persists. We all know that. Mm-hmm. So being able to actually see. So on the 4 things that we want to bring our vibration, our frequency up to the 4th density, which is where the earth has shifted, and that's the heart chakra. To be in the 4th density, there's 4 things we need to do. One is expression, and that is to actually allow ourselves to feel all the emotions that come up for us without resistance, without judgment. So allowing our body to feel these things, then we can process and work through them rather than be stuck in it and be that emotion. And after we turn it way up, we say, you know, this is sadness, this is depression, whatever it is, and without judgment. Usually depression is covering up sadness or covering up things. But if we really allow our bodies to feel it without judgment on it, then we can then turn into the observer and say, that's an interesting point of view, that I have that point of view. And so then you shift into the observer. Once you have acknowledged it, once you've heard it, you speak to it, then we become the observer. The next one is experimentation. So how many of us only see one point of view? And many times our parents or our grandparents or a lot of people's behaviors are very offensive because we take things personal. But when you actually sit in the seeker's chair and you actually see what's happened to them and see what they've been through and what they've experienced, then we are experiencing other points of view, which expands our awareness and it expands our consciousness, so that we're not just one-sided in everything. We're looking at every point of view. That's experimentation. The third one is integration. So to integrate shadow, we bring it into neutrality, and we do not favor one side over the other. So we don't push away our shadow and always seek the light, but we bring them both together and we take the judgment off of shadow, because there is no bad and wrong. There's just being responsible for what is and sending love to it, because love is the answer to all things. But we don't want to bypass it. Most of us bypass. That's what I was doing. I was bypassing a huge shadow because I had stuffed it away as a child because of abuse. And I had no idea that that shadow was running my life and sabotaging me. Every time I came close to success for love and money, then I would get sabotaged. And so it took finding out that I really had something powerful there running my life that I was unconscious of. So we really want to not bypass it and send everything love. A lot of people, yeah, I'm in a space of love, but they have all this stuff that they're not really aware of or not looking at, and because they're avoiding their darkness and they want to be right and righteous. So that's the integration, is learning to love ourselves, both the dark and the light side of ourselves.
Can you just talk a little bit more about the bypassing? Because the spiritual bypassing is a term that comes up a lot, and some people don't understand, what does that actually mean?
Well, I come across it a lot because this work I do is very, very deep. And a lot of people say, oh, I've done my shadow work. And what does that mean? Just exactly what have you done to your shadow? Because bypassing it is not really understanding that 95% of unconscious behaviors. And a lot of people feel like if they have gifts or they do medicine or they have done landmark or impact, and they can verbalize everything and they can mentally work through everything, but there's still that 95% of shadow that causes us to attract in our lives what we don't want. So many times we are bypassing sexual abuse or physical abuse or patterns that we end up attracting that into our lives. So we attract men that are abusive or women that have that are impossible to love because they have so much trauma that they're bypassing. And so it's
real emotionally shut down. So
yeah,
that's where the relationship doesn't work.
Right. They're impossible to love. And when we bypass, we are not really feeling the self-love for ourselves. So we're not able to attract the love that we're after. And so to bypass is really not knowing yourself. And we always hear know thyself and you know God.
Yes. Yes.
Because the creator within us is who we get to connect to, but we can't do that when all this stuff is going on and we're completely unaware of it.
That's right, because they're running the show. Now, just to go back, what's the fourth step? Because I interrupted you.
Okay, the fourth step is transmutation. So it's transcendence. Transcendence. So we're transcending our attachment to anything on this on the earthly plane. We're transcending any attachment, because our attachment to things and how things should be is usually what causes us pain and what causes a dysfunction. So being able to transcend all attachments so that we are in service to others and we're fully aware and integrated with our shadow, and we're not being we're not attracting things in our life that we don't want, because we're fully aware of what's in our energy field.
Right. Yes. Yes. So being around others, can you take on their shadow, or is it something that you're born with? These are your ancestors. This is all being passed down through the generations. This is the life you've chosen in this life. So being around maybe some negative or toxic people, do we take on their shadows as our identity?
Well, that's what's really, really interesting about the work I do, because I used to think that I was taking other people's stuff on, but because we have our energy field full of all these triggers and these soul wounds, the scientist was even explaining that we are communicating constantly soul wound to soul wound. So we're calling forth these things. And so somebody else's shadow will actually trigger your shadow, because you are not aware of what's there. And so we think we're taking other people's stuff on. That happens when in the circle, in the constellations, people will come to channel, and we're channeling energy. We are not being possessed by anything. And then it's beautiful and magical the way you get chosen for something you needed to process, even though you're processing it for somebody else that's sitting in the chair, the seeker. So you're processing your stuff and their stuff, and almost always it magically happens that you set the intention as the representative, then you are processing your stuff along with theirs. So when they get done, then they have stuff coming up because you just released a lot, and they start having stuff come up, and they think, oh, I took something home of theirs. Well, no, you didn't. You just have your own stuff coming up because you processed your stuff. And so that's something to really understand, that as long as you are fully aware of what you have, then you're not taking other people's stuff on, especially if you understand boundaries and how to set energetic boundaries. Because the way we take other people's stuff on is not having the self-respect enough to set boundaries and collapsing our boundaries or meshing our boundaries together. And so we have other people's hooks in us, and we have people drawing from us, drawing energy from us, because we are trying to be in their business or allow them to be in our business. So that's the way, that's what you should really look for, is your own family members with their hooks in your energy field or your hooks in them. If you have your hooks in them, they have their hooks in you.
Is that similar to courting? You know, when people cord to you, or they're just hooked into you? There's a lot of different terminology.
Well, it's nobody can, it's to, when I say to put their hooks in your boundaries, it's more like somebody comes up and blames you. You did this, you made me feel this way, and then we feel guilty. Oh, I was a terrible mother, I didn't do, you know, and I start feeling guilty. Well, that's allowing them to hook into our space. And so what it is learning how to speak our truth without defending it. That's how you set an energetic boundary. You know, I understand you're upset, and there's all kinds of ways. Sometimes you want to give them generous listening. Of course, this is a whole nother concept, is boundaries, but that's how you take people's stuff on, is being willing to let them put the blame on you, and you accept the blame, or you're putting blame on them. Because when we communicate, if we speak our truth and we don't make others wrong, we're not in their business, but we're speaking our truth, and you never have to defend your truth, because truth stands alone. So if you're speaking your truth and you say, thank you for sharing, I understand you're upset, but that doesn't belong to me. Or that's not a conversation that I need to have, or whatever, however you decide to handle it. Like I said, you can be a generous listening, but you just don't take on the blame and the guilt and all those things that we take on as parents or lovers or children. And that's the biggest dysfunction in the work that I do when I'm clearing stuff up, ancestral stuff, is everybody's in everybody else's business.
Exactly. And that statement, you know, mind your own business, is actually a very powerful statement if people actually do it. When someone says mind your own business, it's like, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I try to put it in a way there's no resistance. I always say, start with thank you for sharing. I understand that this is how you're feeling, but this is my truth. You know, you speak your truth, and then you don't defend it. And I'll tell you what's really interesting when I coach people on this is when people speak their truth to shadow does not like truth.
No.
It just completely, because there's no resistance there. All you're doing is speaking your truth. You're not resisting whatever. They can think what they want. They can yell, they can scream, but you're just standing in your truth, and there's no defending and there's no defense. And shadow hates that, because shadow loves to sneakily put everything into blame, shame, and guilt, right?
Exactly. And like you said, wanting to be right. And so, yeah. So how does one protect themselves from taking on the shadow? You've touched on it, though. Do you want to go deeper into that?
Well, we don't really take, I mean, a lot of people say I'm empathic, so I take everybody's stuff on. Yeah. Well, consider the fact that maybe you're just feeling their stuff is triggering your stuff. Their stuff is stirring up your stuff. Because if you've done your shadow work, you're not going to be taking other, you're going to be very clear what's yours and what isn't yours.
Exactly.
The only way you get confused is you have 95% of unconscious behavior running your life and you have no idea. So somebody else is feeling this way and it's triggering you, and you start taking all this on, then consider that maybe, just maybe, that you have some things there that are asking to be heard within your own field. And other things, and I realize that we need to protect ourselves. If you're going out in public or something, you can, they call it zipping up, or putting a shield on when you go out. But just in general, being around crowds, you're not going to take on other people's stuff unless you willingly give yourself permission to do that.
Exactly. So yeah, you touched on, you explained that beautifully, because a lot of people go, oh, I'm an empath and I pick up everyone's stuff and it brings my energy down, but they're actually agreeing to take it all on. No one's dumping anything onto the other people. So it's recognizing your shadow side, but this is where it's about being true to yourself, honoring yourself, and willing to dive into the deeper parts of yourself that you may be resisting because it may look scary, or it's like, oh, I don't want to look at that, which is the spiritual bypassing that you were talking about. And the work that you do is just phenomenal, because it's about, we're here for such an amazing time, and this is our time to clear anything that is bringing our vibration down so we can come back to our true authentic self.
Absolutely. We're all frequency. And do you know that shame is a frequency of 25 and Mother Earth is 565? That's why I had this shadow of shame and fear of speaking, because I was beaten for crying. And no matter what I did, no matter what I created, when it just ready to get my hands on wealth, and it was gone just in a flash, because I didn't have the vibration. I had too much of the lower vibration that was hidden from me in my energy field because I'd shut it out. And it was a beautiful thing to find out, to discover this shadow, because it's actually where I learned my gifts came from, was dissociating from my body, not understanding why my dad would do this to me. I dissociated from it. So I have been used to living in this shadow world. The scientist that mapped my brain, he said, this is very unusual, the way you stay in, and I've always felt really different from other people, because I don't associate with words, just feelings. And I know things. I know shadow and I know light. I know people's greatness and I know their shadow, and I see it as equal. I don't see shadow as bad. And that's really hard for people to get used to, that there's no bad and wrong within them, within themselves. They're just here to experience the polarization. So yeah. So that's what my shadow classes are for, just to get people to just open up their understanding, just shift just a little bit, and their life can change and their frequency can change, because they're not denying the shadow to be seen or to be heard. So we can completely love ourselves so much deeper by embracing that part of us.
I love that. Yeah, which is why we came here, to clear all those parts of us that are not true and authentic.
Exactly. And that's what I say in my book. I call it Big Souls Make Big Promises, because a lot of people, I call it the chosen one. Not that they're any better than anybody else, but some people lock on to this work that I do and they stick with it until they've got all their ancestors and their parental imprints. I mean, they I call it get the shit done, you know.
I love it.
And I can just tell they came here to do the work. They came here to get all this stuff. And even the natives, the indigenous, they say, until we clear 4 generations of men, the earth can't heal. Until man heals 4 generations, the earth can't heal. So we're actually doing this work. We are helping the earth heal and raising the consciousness of the planet.
Absolutely. And that's always been my purpose in all the work that I do. It's about, shifting consciousness, expanding awareness, and helping humanity and raising the energy vibration. So I love that and the work that you're doing. So do you want to talk a little bit about the shadow workshop that you're offering?
Yes.
People who want to, know a little bit more, and what
Yes.
is it?
So on the shadow class, one of the things I do is I help you discover your 12 metaphysical qualities that you came here. In other words, that's who you are spiritually, because you want to know who you are as well. And then I also help you understand how to keep a shadow journal. And my book's online on Amazon, Big Souls Make Big Promises. And there's also a book called The Shadow Journal, and that explains to you how to use it. But on my class, I help you understand how to use it, why it's important, help you find your metaphysical qualities so you can understand and know your I am statements. And so you're moving and processing shadow, observing it, transmuting it, and then you are stating who you are. And so that's the first one. It's very important to understand why you should keep a shadow journal and why you should find out who you are metaphysically or spiritually. The second one is all about the second one I told you about, experimentation. So it's helping you understand how to embrace and other people's point of view, and how to be able to observe other people, even though they may be the opposite. We have the Trump people and the Biden people, and we had them fighting all the time. To help people understand what's the point. Bring the fight out there within yourself and find out where the conflict is in yourself, so that you can be empowered by it rather than be angered by it. And then the third one is all about integration and how we integrate shadow, how we embrace it, how we get to know shadow. And sometimes it can be very scary, especially when you do things like plant medicine or constellations. It's like, whoa, that seems like a lot, but it really isn't when you understand and take the judgment off shadow. And then the fourth one is all about transcendence and how we attach ourselves to things, and how we can tell the difference of what energies we're working by. If we're in flow, we're working with our masculine, feminine, divine. If we're stuck, we have stuck energy and we're trying to push and make things happen, we're operating out of our survival instincts, which is the male and the female. So that's what the 4 classes are all about. And it's the first step, to take that first step in just being conscious that there is something besides the light.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's an exciting step for anyone who's willing to go, whoa, you know, I came here for a purpose and I choose to be fully awakened. And so this is a good first step for people.
Yes, it's very exciting.
Right.
I had a gal in France. She had me do the shadow class and she translated it all, and they loved it in France. Yeah, I give the shadow class here, and I also give shadow classes for addictions, you know, to help people. And another thing I do in the shadow classes, I share shadow clearing for people to be able to do. So yeah, I'd love to welcome anybody that wants to join me.
Mm-hmm.
Linda and I are going to set a time for it. And yeah.
Yes, and I'll be posting all the details for everyone. So stay tuned, and it'll be over 2 days because, as Shauna and I discussed, you need integration time, and
Right.
then yeah, and people can do this workshop as many times as they like, correct?
Yes. Yes, once they've taken the first one, they can come and join us on any one of them. They can join us on the addiction. They can, you know, anything. Once you, because my passion and my journey is to get this message out to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems a very unimportant, simple message, but it really is. It really is shifting the consciousness to not avoid our shadow. I'd love to speak to your beautiful people that are following you. It'd be an honor.
I would be so honored and blessed to share your work with my community and as many people to help to raise the consciousness on the planet, and together, you know, we will keep raising the energy frequencies. So, and that's what we came here to do, which is so exciting. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you so much for your time today and sharing your wisdom and knowledge and expertise. And thank you for sharing, doing what you do.
Oh, it's my pleasure and my honor. Thank you, Linda.
Okay. And keep an eye out, everyone, for the upcoming dates for the next workshop. And we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks.
All right.
Bye for
Bye-bye.
now.